Item D under presentations is a proclamation recognizing Mr. Jerrold Hatchett for 50 years of service to the community and his retirement from the Sims Medal.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. While we're approaching the podium, would you read the resolution, Madam Clerk?
Sure. Whereas Jerrold Hatchett has been a true supporter of the community for decades, as he has supported many community events, neighborhood councils, and community organizations throughout the years. And whereas Jerrold Hatchett recently retired from Sims Meadow and is a longtime Richmond leader who believes in supporting and giving back to the community. And whereas Jerrold Hatchett joined Sims Meadow on October 8, 1970, and has held many positions from entry level to management. And whereas Jerrold started at the LMC in the 1970s as a very young man and began his career maintaining the yard, where he later became leader, worker on the rail crew, and eventually yard manager, a position he held for 10 years. Whereas many residents know Jerrold as Santa Claus because he has been Santa countless times over the past few decades, as well as the Easter Bunny at the annual holiday events. And whereas Jerrold always made it a point to stroll through the yard at Sims in his costume to greet all his fellow workers and celebrate the holiday. And whereas Jerrold arranged for field trips for children as far away as Santa Rosa to come to Sims Meadow and learn about recycling, he also developed the Sims Summer Intern Program, and in conjunction with the City of Richmond, offered summer jobs to youth. And whereas Jerrold Hatchett, along with many community leaders, was instrumental in organizing the Tent City movement in Richmond to protest against violent crime in the city. Neighbors camped out in public parks for 40 days in an attempt to bring peace to the streets. And whereas Jerrold Hatchett has also worked with the National Brotherhood Alliance and others to coordinate the annual Juneteenth celebration for many years and supported the BMW golf tournament since its inception. And whereas Jerrold Hatchett received many awards and accolades such as Humanitarian of the Year Award, Father of the Year Award, and other countless awards from neighborhood groups over the years for his dedication to the community and participation in improvement efforts. And whereas as the Director of Community Relations for Northern California, Jerrold Hatchett kept Sims Meadow as the forefront of the community as a good neighbor. And whereas after 50 years of service, Jerrold Hatchett has retired from Sims Meadow as of January 31st, 2020. Now therefore, Now therefore be it resolved that the Richmond City Council on February 25th, 2020 does hereby recognize Mr. Jerrold Hatchett for 50 years of service to the community and wish him well in his retirement from the Sims Medal.
Take the privilege to start this off, but before I do this, everybody knows that the Godfather here, and the Godfather also likes ladies. So I'm going to ask our city manager to break up this all-male group here, and the city clerk, both of them, to come up and take a picture with Jerrold. So when we first started this, Tom and I, anyway, get up here, get next to Jerrold. Tom and I were initiated, and then we said, hey, we got to have the full council in, and so it expanded from that point. But I just want to be brief because I know a lot of people want to have something to say. Jerrold, to be on a job for 50 years, man, that is amazing. And I don't know how many times you got fired and you got your job back. But Jerrold has been an instrumental individual in his community. Everyone loves him. He's a godfather. And we certainly appreciate all you've done Jerrold at Sims and Miller. So, Mr. Mayor, your opportunity.
I don't understand how somebody as young as Jerrold can have 50 years of service. I'd like for somebody to check that math. But it's been a pleasure to work with him for many, many things over the years. And, you know, one of them I particularly remember is Juneteenth. Jerrold started that program, and I remember when he asked me, when I was just a lowly city council person, if I'd be willing to support it, and we did, and it's grown and grown over the years. It's become, you know, one of Richmond's premier cultural festivals that they're all so proud of. So thank you, Jerrold.
I'll just say real briefly, Jerrold, congratulations. I mean, you may be retired from Sims Metal, but at the end of the day, the Godfather's work ain't never done. You're still going to be working for the community of Richmond. So enjoy your retirement. You deserve it, but we know you'll still be active, and thank you so much for all the work you've done so far.
Well, I think we all have nice things to say about Jerrold, but I think one thing we missed is he's a Richmond fashion icon.
The fact that all of us came down here says a lot, right, about Jerrold, and it's not even surprising. Everybody out here knows how much he's done for the community. And we could talk about the things he's done publicly, but I just want to talk a little personally. You know, I'm an energy person. I feel people's energy. And when you talk about positive energy in this guy, you know who really feels people's energy is children. And I remember when my son was a newborn. And I was, you know, I wasn't on city council yet, but I was already in the sort of political sphere. So I was going to all these community events, and I would go to them. And there were really only two people in the community. One was actually, I think I saw Javanka in here. One was actually Javanka's partner. And the other was Jerrold, who, if we were at a community event and we left our son, even at, you know, 3 months old, he would not complain. He just immediately felt Jerrold's energy and immediately knew he was comfortable and safe around Jerrold, even though he's not, you know, we weren't related, you know, but he immediately felt like this was family. And to this day, still asks me about you. 8 years later, by the way. So that tells you a lot about somebody. When people can feel your energy, when children, babies, newborns can feel your energy and say, this is a good person to leave me around, that tells you a lot about them. And I also say about my son, he always knew that was you and not Santa Claus. He was like, that's not Santa Claus. That's the guy. Every time I see him, he does like this. That's that guy. That's that guy.
Well, I thought Jerrold was following me around because everywhere I went, he was there. But when I talked to him about it, he said, no, I'm the one following him around because he had been doing it long before I came around. So, you know, there's logic in that. And there's not a better person to follow than Jerrold, and hopefully anyone that follows him will be able to embody his spirit because he is Richmond.
Well, there's not too much I can say about the Godfather that hasn't already been said. But I do want to not only thank you for your service at Sims, but for making sure that they were a cooperative neighbor here in the city of Richmond and getting them involved in different activities that we had going on. I also like to thank you from a personal note as well for allowing me to come in and be a part of the Juneteenth Planning Committee. Just thank you for all of your hard work and your dedication, not only just for me, but to the community as a whole. So.
Which district are we in?
My turn.
Jerrold, just you and your funds.
Just a minute, Pat.
Give her the microphone.
Okay.
Hold it for a second.
Look at the girls.
Okay.
All yours.
We'll say anything.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
All right, I want to thank everybody for coming out. But you know where my heart is. I love Richmond. When I first started in Santa Fe, I ended up with Iron Triangle. I ended up going to North and all over the place. Rochester, you name it, I was there. And I enjoyed doing it. Helping, especially like somebody said, the kids. My heart was always with the kids and still with the kids. Probably, hopefully I could still have enough health to come do Santa Claus and Easter Bunny and Juneteenth. But the rest of the stuff, I'll probably chill out a little bit. But every day was a good day for me. I can honestly say that part. I love, it wouldn't work at Sims. It was more just having fun. I can't say all the things I used to do, but I did it. Yeah, I know a lot of people know I used to party. But the good thing, I just want to say thank you, and thank you, and thank you. Thank you very much.
We have two speakers, Cordell Hindler and Rock.
That's Grossmaster did one to you. Hold it right there. Hold it right there. So, hold it right there, Mayor Bud. Thank you. I do want to say, when I heard that Jerrold was the Godfather, I said, the Godfather? I thought it was James Brown for a minute. But I digress. But I've been knowing Jerrold for many years. When I heard that for all the characters he has portrayed, Santa Claus, Ho Ho Ho, Easter Bunny, well, you sure be hopping along for 50 years. That was a little play on words, hopping. So let's see, Jerrold Hatchett, what a guy. Every year when I go to Juneteenth, I always think of Jerrold, and I said, wow. What a performer. So you've done a lot of good work, Jerrold, all these years. That's it.
Rock?
Rock Brown. Thank you very much. I just wanted to be able to take a second because it's been, I call it quite a ride, as I've been in Richmond my whole life. But with Jerrold and doing outreach and getting involved, there's no one part of Richmond, there's all of Richmond. And I work here, I work with corporate America, but you don't see a lot of folks that get the opportunity that will seize it. Maybe they live in the outskirts, but they'll do a little outreach, but they won't stay till late times at night and do that kind of outreach to kids that kids in a lot of these neighborhoods. The city of Richmond is changing, but a lot of these kids that Jerrold reached out to, he's setting up, have stages set up, and just providing, as we call it, and so called in the street, an OG, a triple OG. When you look at Jerrold, you're looking at a street expression, a triple OG. One that kids from different street fractions, and trust me, different street fractions. I've been during times when there's been, as they call it, hot on the block. We don't see as much of that now, very much now. But Jerrold, when it was hot on the block, he'll go from one street fraction to another street fraction. They'll respect the fact as a neutral that he can go in there and make a difference. Jerrold provides a role as in a legend with Richmond. Jerrold, I would describe as a legend and will never be forgotten. Jerrold Hatchett, thank you for the work, the ground level work you've done in the city that I'm born in, and so many people out there respect you for the outreach that you do.